Hi, my name is Winsley, and welcome to my video covering the 40th dev diary for Age of Wonders 4. This one is covering the new handcrafted regions, which is coming out alongside the Giant Kings DLC. There's also a lot of really interesting visual improvements that we're getting in the free update. I think it's called the Ogre update that's coming out on the same day that we get the Giant Kings DLC, which is April 1st, I believe. And this is a really extensive dev diary. There's a lot in here. I'm going to try and not rush through it because um, there's a whole storyline that you can click through further down, and a lot of great images that show off a lot of the really cool visuals, and then like some lore implications potentially here that we should really guess what these landmarks are right here based off of this, because I think that would be awesome. This was obviously intended for people to brainstorm over after reading, so I'm going to try and take a closer look at that once we get through it. And then there's like these really cool new faded regions, and the I guess I forget what they were before the faded regions, but they were, I think it was landmarks. Yeah, this is the landmarks, and then there's natural regions that are more visually based that we'll take a closer look at once we get to that in the dev diary. I want to start at the top though. Let's go back to this one, which is just something you would see out in the ocean. I believe one of the new handcrafted regions that you might find. And yeah, I believe they say that basically we have new mountain overlays here for Arctic and Desolate tags, so it looks more Arctic and it looks more desolate, and it doesn't like have issues with the other things around it. I believe there was maybe some clipping or something that was going on with that. I really love the look of this new city sprawl mechanic, which they talked a little bit about in the dev stream that they did just before the dev diary, which I will be covering on Tuesday next week. I got a few screenshots from it already, but not much. Like this faded region came from the stream itself. Got a good image of that, and an image of what's different with the metals, and then some images from my Discord about some things I missed in last week's one. But let's not get beside ourselves. Let's talk about the city sprawl, because this stuff really gets really interesting super fast. I couldn't quite tell the difference between a tier 1 and a tier 4 sprawl just looking at this, but there must be some difference in the buildings there, maybe the number and the size of them. But you can really see it here on this image in particular. If we zoom in here, you can just see so many buildings, so many little buildings. It makes this look more lived in, I think, is the idea. And uh, yeah, more imposing as a result. Although they are still reducing the intensity. This is like an idea they're playing around with, and I think if even if you look in the water here, that looks like it has some like fisherman thing set up. I think that's cool. I hadn't seen that earlier when I was going through this quickly, but yep. There's I think just going to be different buildings for different cultures, and um yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how that actually changes over the course of development. The underground climates and walls have been changed to match the fact that we're going to have new underground Arctic and underground desolate climate like types that are alternating. It's either one or the other, I believe, in the underground, whereas before it's just underground. They're going to have their own unique visual for the diggable earth and bedrock. That makes sense because if otherwise it would take you out of that environment and just look kind of like the old um, brown color that we generically had for both of them. Seems like this is a lot more blue, whereas this one just has like hints of fire on it. Love it. That's pretty cool. Bedrock, technically part of their own uninhabitable region, now detect what climate is adjacent to them. Yep, that makes sense. That's what we were just talking about. Haven't read through each and every one of these sentences, so I'm just quickly checking that there's nothing important here before we move on to the handcrafted regions, which is something they introduced in Eldritch Realms. If you went to the Umbral Abyss, it was one of a few maps that were designed to work a very specific way, and these handcrafted regions that they designed in Eldritch Realms got them thinking about how it'd be cool to do that on the surface level. The giants were known for basically terraforming land, so this seems just like a good place to introduce this idea into Age of Wonders in general, thematically. It makes a lot of sense, and I think it's really cool having different things for you to go out and explore and uncover on every map. Every map will have these in different places, so it'll start to feel more unique as a result. Um, like with Eldritch Realms, our approach with these regions was to divide them into categories. Yeah, so that's like the natural regions, which I think are just visual things. They beautify the world and present interesting economic hotspots that are different than what you might find in RNG. So there might be like a cluster of mana nodes or a cluster of gold nodes or something along those lines in these handcrafted regions, but they don't actually give you anything extra like an ancient wonder. Um, Whereas I think the other ones, the non-natural regions, the landmarks and the faded regions, they have a little bit more going on in them. It shows a once prospering city. Oh, so you can get a city ruin with some interesting stuff around it. Okay, so that's part of their natural regions. I have a cavern floor lined with giant statues. Oh, I see them. These are the giant statues, huh? One, two, three, four. That's kind of cool. I like that idea. And those will just like that's been like designed before, so they'll appear in that sequence, but in random parts of the map. Okay, I like that idea. It's like the best of procedurally generated and designed before all together at once, from what I can tell here at least. In order to push the visuals a bit further, they made such decorations and statues, wandering ghosts, myths, and farms, such that we can place them in our regions. Wandering ghosts? Have we seen that visually in the stream? I love the idea of that. That's cool. Maybe you need to be in like an undead area or region for it to really pop up, or like near an infestation that has the undead tag. That would make a lot of sense, right? There's telling stories. Try to spot them when you think you've uh, discovered a natural region. So we have a haunted forest filled with bones and ghosts. So if we click in here, do we get to see the little ghosts that are floating around? That that looks kind of like bright and stuff. Seeing little skulls and stuff, and like or maybe that's just rocks. I don't know. I don't know anymore. It's all new. It seems so new. So we have a tomb on top of a cliff surrounded by vast pillars and statues. I like the this um, just general design. It seems like a very important place here. It reminds me of how there's ancient sites like this in the real world. They've added the functionality to randomize climates and overlays on these handcrafted regions, so they're not going to be the same climate every time you see like this tomb. It might be frozen one time, it might be like desert another time, I assume. I think that's what I'm reading here. One of the regions is in temperate, and then you can put in Arctic. Same thing now in Arctic. Okay, I like that. They showed that off pretty well there. But Giant Kings have a new dungeon climate and ruin overlay, so that is something that can occur naturally underground, I believe. But I believe the tier 2 tome said something about this dungeon climate and spreading it when they hovered over it in the last stream. I don't remember off the top of my head, but this looks pretty cool. Got like these nice little patterns, tiles, like it's that's a new style. We haven't really seen this style, I think, in Age of Wonders, but I like it. I forget what it's called when you place tiles like that, and that's kind of random. Somebody in chat will probably know, right? Go ahead, let's know, because I don't know that word. There's a natural region with the new ruins overlay right here. Cool. I can't really see too much there, but I guess this guy's standing on top of a broken down city that is not like the city ruined city, but like a smaller one, maybe. Kind of like what was an outskirt province, but maybe is all by itself historically. One of our favorite ways to create the new regions was to incorporate ancient wonders. Yes, we saw that. I think I mentioned that earlier. We got to see this one. This ancient, or excuse me, astral rift is right on some interesting circle icon here. So actually, you know what? That's not an ancient wonder, but it makes sense that they put ancient wonders in the center. This one looks like you have to walk along these little paths of broken rock with lava in between to get to the center, which seems to have. I thought that would be a landmark. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe they turned off that visual because this does say no, landmark regions are below. This is still the just the natural region stuff. Okay, I'm getting confused. It's okay. It's still early for me. Landmark regions give a little bit more to the map, more than just this visual aspect than you know. adding a couple overlays. This has things like a giant dragon, uh, I guess skeleton fossils, so you could call it. Can't quite tell what this one is, but it looks like something under the ice. You found something hidden underneath the ice. And then this one I like a lot. That's really cool. I like how they built a little globe here. I guess these planets are circular in nature. Even though our maps are square and they don't wrap around like a circle. I guess something is circular at least. This guy's holding it up like Atlas. Oh, very cool. I didn't even see that initially. Lovely. Very good design. Um, but let's see, these regions were designed to be a bit like the Wonder of the World, which I think is from a previous Age of Wonders game, maybe one or two. I don't remember that being in Age of Wonders 3, but it could have been. Goal for them was to create big, impressive visual anchors in the world, as well as have a prize for exploration. So they can say a single vast structure, natural phenomenon, like a giant raging volcano or a eldritch beast trapped beneath ice. So that must have been the eldritch beast there. I can't quite make it out, but that must be them. um, there are, let's say, myth and grandeur in these. Okay. There's medium in a region of medium player with 5. You might see one or two on the surface, one on the underground, and you might come across more in larger realms. So they're not going to be super common, is generally what this is saying. I don't know why that was so hard for my brain to read. All right, besides being visually impressive, we've also given each other a lot of lore. Let's take a look at this lore. This is something I've been excited to take a closer look at. So, do you feel it? Forbidden magic lingers on the battlefield, not of creation, but of unlife. My kin tells story of the Traitor King. We don't know anything about these Traitor Kings. This looks like a giant corpse, maybe? It might be the giant bones that we saw in one of the trailers. None who fought here shall ever know peace, and so the souls of the fallen shall remain among their bones, forever fighting, forever dying. Okay. The Traitor Kings may have been relayed to undead stuff, then I guess. That's cool. I like it. Next one says, I've seen the fallen Empire of Myrrida, and my heart aches for what my kin have lost. Endless quarters and districts sprawling through the underground. How I grieve for Meridia's golden age. It's lost mystery carved into our history. But as a giant king, I must try to live up to its legacy. Wait, there's something more about Hambringer. Ah, Binger, whatever you call it, right? He's the one recording this. He met this builder in the giant's footsteps. Wait, in the giant's footsteps is a book that this guy wrote. Lovely. I love that. I love that this character is being brought into this quote, and I assume the next one too. Yeah, this must be some kind of like ancient giant king building, maybe a library or something like that, or a throne where this guy's sitting. And there's some kind of mechanical creature attacking somebody with a hammer. Interesting. Gazing up at the remnant of what was a majestic horde, one cannot help but contemplate the dragon that fell here. Okay, so a dragon died here. It might be a dragon corpse, and its destructive rivalry with the giants. See how even the bones of it still protects its treasure as the winding howled through the peaks. I swear I could not hear the dragon's ancient roar. All right, this is actually from a different person that we've seen in the stories. Fangir Rockborne is, I think, an orc or something like that, and may have been in one of the previous Age of Wonders as well. From the Second Age Part 2. Oh yeah, maybe that's a quote from Age of Wonders 2. That would make sense. The Second Age. What else do we have here? I think we're getting close to the big event chain that you can look at, or it's kind of got spoilers in there, so you don't have to if you don't want to. They kind of made it so you can open it by clicking into it. All right, so the landmarks have a lot of good stuff for them. They cannot be claimed or annexed, but they affect the provinces adjacent to them. Interesting. I didn't see that earlier. You want to maybe settle near them in order to claim as much of the surrounding territory as possible. But okay, you won't be able to actually protect the center zone of that. I like it. So I assume this Dragonteeth Ridge is actually that one right there. That seems like it would match up pretty well. Finding in the early game can really put you ahead of the other empires. And when you are adjacent to this place, what do you get? A little bit of gold. The ancient draconic frenzy and combat enchantment is available to you. And I guess if you take that enchantment and lose the province, you don't lose the enchantment. I hope so. Uh, the city with 3 provinces adjacent gains the ability to unlock the recruitment of tier 4 and tier 5 dragons. Okay, you might need a high tier city to do that, but like that's really cool. You can just recruit them if you have this next to that landmark location. I don't know what this Adilonium is talking about here, but it seems to be indicating maybe there's like a city nearby up here. Yes, I see the borders of it right there. It's got 2 of the 3 that it would need. That's all that's saying, I think. All right, faded regions. This has that symbol that you see on the end turn in the middle of this faded region. They have unique quests, and I believe this is the crystal storm plateau one that I've been talking about in previous parts that you can either click into or not. There's a little bit more after this, like how you can mod crafted regions and how the cursed dwelling will, I think, interact with this stuff. It's just, I think, maybe actually talking about how it's like the emerald dwelling here. I can't see too much more there in this part, but I guess it has to do with fact that if you're looking, for example, above, you'll note the faded regions are complex and connected with together. Faded regions aren't enabled by default, but you can enable them through the realm trait, this thing. And I think this one is tied to a specific one. Give you hints towards finding those. Oh, no, that's it, right? These guys know about the faded region, so you can ask them about it. That's why the crystal dwellings are brought up at this point, because it's semi-related to these faded regions. All right, so it's since we got some time here, let's just take a quick look at what's in the Crystal Storm Plateau. So you stumble across this, you're stuck in the event, you're going across this, and it looks like you can either leave, you can order them to ground themselves in lightning at expense of movement, so less movement but more lightning resistance. You can cast a spell of warding to give you more just resistance in general. So if you have the mana, you can spend it on this to make it easier to clear the first stage of this, it looks like. And as we look around, we'll see the region itself is currently uninhabited and cannot be affected by world spells, right? World spells do not happen here. It's kind of like a spell jammer. Once we've actually managed to resolve the mystery of this region, the protection will be lifted and we can annex and cast spells of our desire. So it's a spell jammer until the areas around are annexed. I think that's what it says here. Basically, it's a spell jammer, right? Yeah. This will block the spells from being cast there until you get it. We see the storms wreak havoc. Yep. As we continue to center, there is guys there. Unfortunately, you cannot get rid of them in order to claim the region. Region's many mana nodes. Oh yeah, there's a few mana nodes. I see them. As the magic barrier protects him, we also learn that he's invoked by a storm clan, one of the clans of giants you'll learn about as you discover more in the faded regions. Well, I would assume there's at least 4 of them. Maybe there's more in the stories, but I would assume there's only one for each of the 4 playable giants we're getting in Giant Kings. Then luckily, just as we step back, the magic barrier, just as we step back from the barrier, is guarding a friendly enough looking trump. So this is a comma, not a period here, guys. This is not a full sentence. I'm sorry. My brain was really struggling for that. A friendly enough looking swamp troll offers us a way through at the price of a dozen of these cores. We accept the steal, but other players might want to steal his ward breaking orb immediately. So rude. No, I would work with him. Why would you betray this guy? He looks like such a nice guy. Yeah, I mean, seems good to me. We can hunt down the crystal people, the region, and various mana nodes picked up are guarded by them. I think they'll generally be harder to fight than other things, so keep that in mind. We're getting battered by the crystal forms, dealing damage, but more importantly, inflicting a volatile charge on our own units, which we haven't gotten to see yet, meaning we have to split up our own units in order to avoid damage. Fighting in faded regions tends to be trickier than normal fights you'll encounter. Oh, volatile charge is from the region. Is that what that's saying? I think that would make sense. Yeah, volatile charge seems to be coming from the crystal storms, not the units itself. Units in a 1 hex radius are going to take that much damage every 2 turns. A random enemy, so you just can't have any of your guys grouped up because they could be that random enemy. Okay, inflicting volatile charge, I assume, is like damage over time or something like that, right? Does it say here? After collecting enough cores, the troll kindly holds up his deal and destroys the storm barrier for us. Now it's our final showdown. All right, so you have to clear the nodes around before you can go into the center area. I didn't quite get that until now, but this is making sense. It certainly is not an easy fight, as he himself is a tier 5 unit and is joined by various mid to high tier units. Not only that, but Crystal Storm continues to batter our force. Of course, hiccups. Go away. I'm almost done with my video. After a hard-fought battle, we claim a victory against Tempest. A storm giant representing the Storm clans insults us for our deeds and seems to hint at a rivalry between the clans at an ultimate goal of claiming Old Giant King's power. Each fated region will reveal more lore and secrets in the ancient Age of Wonders harbors. All right, we don't need to read each and every sentence here. What do you get next? You get a choice between mana, Imperium, or that looks like an item. You trace the ripping echoes of storm to some beings of pure lightning. That might be Phantasm Warriors, actually. That would make a little bit of sense. We can learn uh, stuff to make it so the crystal dwelling likes us more. You can boost your relationship with them, make it so that they'll want to work with you more, and you can get more stuff from trading with the crystal people, basically. All right. Besides some choices of the rewards, some are actually improved. Yeah, this is improving relationship that I just mentioned. We also gained. Wait, I didn't see that. This thing. You just get that. Got it. And what does that do? It adds 4 recruitment points and the Storm Giant unit to the Rally of Lieges. So you're going to be able to get this nice Storm Tier Giant in your armies. All non-hero giant and gem giants you control gain Blessing of Storms, which I would assume they would tell us a little bit about below here, right? Unlike magic materials, these can be gained by conquering other players. Wait, this is an artifact. Okay, this is the artifact thing that I may have been misunderstanding that Zombie was telling me a little bit more about. Of course, the dog's barking. Sorry, guys. We're just going to have to deal with it. So, to have any, you get them. It'll trigger a happening event. Perhaps other giant clans are harboring more of these things for you to find. Right. So if you get 3 of them, then you get the collection happening. Thagnok's Heir. It sounds like Ragnarok or something. I love this. And then what do we get? Heirs of the Giant King's artifact collection, 2 more to go. With the mystery resolved, the crystal plateau becomes uninhabitable and open to spell casting again. We settle on the crystal center and benefit from the abundance of mana. Most faded regions are very good once you've cleared them. That makes sense. So is it me or is the faded region right in the middle here? I think you can't. I'm not sure I'm understanding which things can be settled and which things can't be settled, because I think the landmarks are different than faded regions, and that's where the distinction comes, but I'm not too sure yet. They call it Literator City. Is that like Liberator, but of getting rid of the crystallines? All right, the Seekers of the Giant Clans and their menhirs. Oh wait, I know that word. I think I've seen that word before. Those are like big rocks with runes on them. I think I saw that in Carcassonne once. There's like a one where you go and you build things around rivers and menhirs can pop up. That's really cool. I like that. Set towards completing the collection. Spoiler ends here. And yeah, I think we've basically covered the important things here. This realm trait is also available in multiplayer. Of course, if you don't want these things in multiplayer, I'm not sure if you can turn that stuff off, but I wouldn't be too surprised if you can limit it at least a little bit. And yeah, I think that's where we'll wrap up today's video. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you around and have a good one.